death, taxes, Phillip Rivers 2-minute drill. I kind of can't believe I didn't think of that when I was making this video last week. I did predict the Bills to win 31-23, which is a one-score game. It ends up being 27-24. The more important thing I predicted was that this week I would be previewing an NFL Divisional Round playoff game featuring the Buffalo Bills. And that is what we're going to do. But I don't want to speed past what I just said about Phillip Rivers. Over the course of his career, he has had this propensity to wind up in that game situation. Fourth quarter, inside of 2 minutes, with the ball, trailing by one score. And more often than not, definitely with the Chargers, I'm not sure that this happened to him too much with the Colts this year, but like I said, with the Chargers for sure, something would usually go hilariously wrong. A missed kick, a bad turnover, something to that effect. I can still picture that video of him with the Chargers. I believe it's after a missed kick by their kicker and they end up losing. They cut to him, and you can clearly see him say, "We're the bad news bears, man." You can definitely find that on the internet. Wonder what he would have said this week. Because it was kind of his fault, I feel like, at the end. Because after they got that call, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, they had the ball 1st and 10 with, 14 seconds left? Or something to that effect. And they are on the 47. So they can maybe get another 7 or 8, 10 yards, spike, get out of bounds, something like that, and try a field goal with Blankenship. I know he had missed earlier from 33 off the upright, but you gotta think that is your better option there. Trying a 58-yard field goal or whatever than a Hail Mary with Rivers, who is pretty much just like a shot fighter at this point. Like, his arm is, you knew that the Hail Mary wasn't getting there, but because we had seen a Hail Mary be completed earlier in the season, we're obviously very tense. It was a very stressful game. It was like, welcome back stress. Because like I said, the Bills had sort of been cruising in games. At least over the past couple of weeks, they've been cruising. They've won 10 out of 11 games now, and a lot of them haven't been super close. It was the most stress we've felt, obviously, since the Kyler Murray Hail Mary. So when we don't get that call, we're like, oh my God, here it goes. We're going to lose. This is going to happen. All these feelings just come rushing back into you, and you just can't fight them off. I don't want to say I was sure the Bills were going to lose after the whatever it was. Let's talk about that. Because I can't even get it out. It's frustrating me so badly. That was a fumble. Okay? What was it, Zach Pascal? That's a fumble. Okay? He catches the ball. They convert a 4th and 10. A very nice play. The Bills probably should have just not let him complete it. But Poyer waits. Smart player. One of the smartest players we have. Hyde and Poyer. The smartest safety tandem in the league. If you don't want to say they're the best, fine. They're the smartest. Challenge me. Come up with anybody else. They're the smartest on the field. Highest football IQ. Poyer waits for him to get up, and his leg is off the ground, and his hand is not on his back. That is clear and evident to everyone watching the game, to everyone on Twitter, everyone except Al Riveron and whoever sits in the NFL offices. That is a joke. That is a joke call, okay? And clear and evident is such a cop-out. Because Al Riveron can sit there and say, they even put a tweet out after, but because he can sit there and say, well, we can't definitively say that his hand's not on his back. Shut up. That is such a cop-out, and you got it wrong. Imagine if the Bills would have lost this game. What would have happened? The NFL wouldn't have done anything. But that would have been worse than the home run throwback, the Music City Miracle. The name of the play was the home run throwback. And while you'll never convince me that it wasn't a forward lateral, you just never will. And I'm not going to go down that road right now. The Bills could have still covered it. Like, the Bills all rushed. It was like still kind of their fault. They all rushed to Frank Wycheck as if Frank Wycheck is going to return a kick for a touchdown on them, and he shovels it over to Dyson, and he goes and he scores. Like, they could have just stayed in their lanes. You know, whatever. I don't mean to digress too far. This play was made. They made it. Okay? Rips it out. Tre'Davious White picks it up. Game over. Bills win. And then the NFL takes it away. I know that the ruling on the field was that he was down by contact, but it was clear and evident. And then you can see McDermott being told before they make the official announcement that they're sticking with the ruling on the field. And your heart just sinks. You're like, oh my God, I know it's 1st and 10 with 14 seconds left, but I feel like we're going to lose this game. You felt it in your gut. Fortunately, it doesn't come to that. I just needed to get that part out there. You can tell how angry it made me. I'm sure it made you angry too. It should have, okay, because it was wrong. Nevertheless, the Bills are advancing against the Baltimore Ravens. But let's talk a little bit more about the Colts game. Bills came out relatively flat once again, once disproving this idea that you have to start fast. They led one touchdown drive of 85 yards, but for the most part, they were pretty bad. They had three and outs, right? Yeah, 3 of their first 4 drives were 3 and outs, totaling 23 yards. And then they finally get a huge stop on defense on the goal line. The Colts are about to go in and make it 17-7. They go for it on 4th down, which I agree with. I guess I agree with to a point. I thought that the Colts were inconsistent in their aggression. Like, they punted from weird areas, then went for it down there. And I think you do need to go for it down there because, on the goal line, I mean. Because if you go up 13-7, like, I mean, you're still within striking. Like, it doesn't help you all that much. And some people will always say, on the road, you got to take the points. No, you sure as heck don't. Because there's one play and points out there for you. And they really had the play to Pittman. It was just beyond his reach. But the Bills get the ball then on the 4-yard line, and something clicks. Something awakens. Allen finds Gabriel Davis a couple of times. A couple of brilliant catches from him. A 96-yard touchdown drive in the 2-minute drill to take the lead at halftime. Then you're thinking, Bills are back, baby. Like, seriously, that's the first thing that came to my mind. We're back. All right? We're clicking. Bills make it 14-10 at halftime, and after a half of football that I'm sure they would tell you did not meet their expectations. And they're leading. They come out in the second half. They kick a field goal to make it 17-10. They go up 24-10 early, I believe, in the 4th quarter on a play to Diggs. And then I don't know what happened defensively after that. They just let the Colts score too fast. Like 2.5 minutes, it's 24-17. Bills go down, make it 27-17, which is really all you can really ask for from that drive, is to take a 2-score lead again. But then in the blink of an eye, in 2 minutes, Jack Doyle scores a touchdown on a completely broken down coverage, which doesn't really happen to the Bills that often. I'm not used to seeing that, like a completely broken play. The Bills are really good at like the 1/11th, just do your job type of play. Like McDermott preaches that. Just do what I'm asking you to do. I drew the play up this way. I think it works. Just do what I'm asking you to do on this play. And they do that all the time. But for some reason on that touchdown to Doyle, no idea what happened there. They get to 2-point conversion, but you're like, okay, we're up 3. We have the ball with 6 minutes to go. I've seen us run the clock out in this situation before. Let's do it again. And Josh hadn't taken a sack all day, and he takes 2 on that drive, and one that really almost cost them their season. I love the guy. He is like just. Well, what more is there to be said? I've been preaching it all season on these videos, but he still has this tendency to take really bad sacks at the really most inopportune times. The first one he ended up getting out of with a nice play to Diggs. But the second one where he's just trying to stay up and then fumbles, thank you, Darrell Williams, for hurrying back and getting that recovery, because it really probably saved the Bills' season. And we get to move on. Let's go. Let's transition on. What happened on Sunday? The Bills go into Sunday football knowing that they're going to be playing the next weekend. They just don't know who they're going to be playing. And then the Ravens win in the early frame. They beat the Titans. So you're like, well, if the Steelers win on Sunday Night Football, we automatically play the Steelers. If the Browns win, we will play the Ravens. So I think a lot of fans were kind of maybe subconsciously or consciously rooting for the Steelers because we have already beaten the Steelers, and I get that, but the Browns go up 28-0 in the first quarter or something. They have one play in the Steelers' territory, and they're up 28-0. They go up 7-0 on the first play from scrimmage. I mean, the Steelers just complete no-shows. But that's okay. I don't really mind. I really don't mind playing the Ravens. I mean, I know that some fans have been just trying to dodge them left and right. Like, they wanted to dodge them in the Wildcard Round. They wanted to dodge them now. They'd rather just play the Steelers. I get that, especially having watched the Steelers the past couple weeks. And I kind of did want the Steelers to come back. And I don't think it's because I didn't want to play the Ravens. I think it's because I like watching Cleveland fail. Misery loves company. That sounds bitter and everything. Like, I like watching Cleveland blow it. It just would have been fun to me. All right. Cleveland and Bills fans, like, if you ever go to those games in Cleveland, they don't really get along. We're like, hey, we're one and the same, but we don't like each other. You know, we have the same kind of history, the same past, but we still don't really like each other's teams. Felt it there. Anyway, the Ravens. Okay, the Ravens are coming in having won 6 games in a row. And they have been putting up a ton of points doing it, with the exception of this past week's game against the Titans. Like, just to go back, 34, 47, 40, 27, 38, now 20. So they've been averaging over 34 points per game. They've been allowing about 17. It's 17-42 to Cleveland on Monday Night Football, then 14-13-3, and 13 to the Titans. Granted, these are not top-notch teams that they've been playing. It's Dallas, Jacksonville, the Giants, the Bengals. The best teams they've played, the Browns and the Titans, 47-42 and 20-13. But the Ravens have kind of gotten back to what made like Lamar MVP last year. Just really good at running the football. They have unleashed J.K. Dobbins. I don't know why it took him so long into the season to do that, but they've unleashed him. And it has really helped. I don't know if that has necessarily helped Lamar Jackson gain more rushing yards, but the rushing yards are just flowing for them. 200 this past week, 236 against the Titans, 400 the week before, 249, 159. That's their down game. 231, 294. This is on their 6-game win streak. At least 231 rushing yards in 5 out of 6 games. And 6-0 in all those games. They've been a lot stronger on defense. The Titans only had 12 first downs and 209 rushing yards. Granted, the Titans, for whatever reason, wanted to stay committed to making Derrick Henry work. They gave him 18 carries versus 26 Ryan Tannehill passes. That's a big, huge flip from what they did in the playoffs the year before. I think Tannehill only threw a handful of passes, like 14 for like 88 yards and 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry just ran rampant through them, and he did it a lot earlier in the year as well. The Titans beat the Ravens 30-24 in overtime. That is their last loss with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. They lost to the Steelers the next week, but that was with RG3. Lamar was on COVID and everything like that. The Ravens are a tough test, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. They are like a 1960s offense with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. They want to run the ball. They don't really hide from it. Like Lamar I think has 20 or more pass completions twice in games this year. Josh has 19 or fewer twice or something like that. I can't remember the exact stat, and one of them, or like maybe 4 times, and I think it's 4 times. And one of them was the game against Miami that he left early. So the Bills love to throw it all over the yard, even though they weren't kind of doing that in the first half against the Colts. I think they'll remember who they are. They'll spread the field out. The Ravens haven't been particularly good against 4 wide receiver sets. They're in like the bottom third of the league against it in terms of like quarterback rating allowed and yards per attempt and explosive pass rate and things like that. Explosive pass play rate and things like that. They do have the talent. They certainly have the talent. Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. And who's their other corner? Jimmy Smith is healthy. He's been there 10 years. Jimmy Smith has been there 10 years. Where does the time go? Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott have been nice for them at safety, nice young safeties for them. What they're really good at is forcing fumbles. They're not really good at like interceptions. People think that they are. They only had 10 all year, but they force fumbles like no other. Marlon Humphrey, one of the best in the league at punching it out. Marcus Peters, very good at it in his own right. They obviously have some stud pass rushers like Campbell and Ngakoue and Matt Judon, of course. Pat Queen has been a nice rookie for them. So, I mean, this is the Elite Eight, guys. You're not going to have layup games in the Elite Eight, okay? Like, you're not going to play easy teams. You're going to be in battles. According to Vegas, the Bills are 2.5-point favorites. The over/under is about 27, or was 49.5. So they're thinking 26-23 Bills. I think that might be pretty close. I think the Bills are going to get back to what they have been doing. I know that Zach Moss is now injured, but I don't think that that's going to change a lot of things. Devontae Freeman comes in. Does he even play? I don't know. Maybe they just use TJ Yeldon. I know they have a lot to prove after the Ravens beat them a couple of years ago. There's like 24-17. They sacked Josh Allen 6 times or something like that. I mean, he completed less than 50% of his passes. The Bills still had a chance to tie that game late in it. They really held Lamar Jackson down in that game. They were the only team, I believe, last year to hold him under 200 total yards. He had like 140 passing, and most of those were on one deep touchdown to Hayden Hurst, who's not there anymore. This was in 2019, obviously, and like 40 rushing yards. So I mean the Bills hopefully know the recipe for success against this team. I think substituting Dobbins for Ingram is an upgrade for them. Obviously, they still use a couple tight end sets with Andrews and Boyle, despite the fact that Hurst isn't there. They use Patrick Ricard a little bit. They don't hide. They don't hide what they're going to do, but they did give up 4 sacks in the first half last week against Tennessee, and Tennessee was one of the worst teams at sacking the quarterback all season long. They had like 19 all season long in 16 games, and they had 4 on Lamar in the first half. So the Ravens weren't all too impressive on offense for a lot of the game. Lamar did get loose for that 1 touchdown run, and you always got to be wary of that, always. But you could say the same about the Bills. Josh could get loose for 1. I mean, the Ravens held 9 rushing yards last season. I can't really see Josh being a super threat with his legs again. They tried it last week against Indianapolis, and it was successful in certain spots. I think they just saw Indianapolis dropping guys more so. They used 3 corners on almost all of their plays. Kerry, Rhodes, and who's the other one? Kenny Moore. They used them on almost all of their snaps, and like 1 or 2 linebackers, Leonard and like Walker, or the other guy's name escapes me at this point. The Ravens aren't gonna, the Ravens are gonna do something similar on defense. They're gonna play all those corners. Their safeties move around. They cut Earl Thomas, and these guys are stepping in like Elliott and Chuck Clark, and just not even missing a beat really. They're a very well coached team. They're very aggressive on 4th down, just like the Bills can be. So I think this is I feel like they're kind of evenly matched in a way, but their offenses are just like the polar opposite of one another. The Bills want to just chuck it everywhere, and the Ravens want to be ball control, eat the clock. This is what we're good at. This is what we're going to beat you with. Hopefully the game doesn't come down to a field goal. Really, that's what it might. It might. The Bills are favored by 2.5. If the game comes down to a field goal and it's not the Bills, it's probably over. Justin Tucker's one of the best in the business. So, I know we missed a kick last week, but do you really want to take those risks? I don't need to hear about how the weather or like Bill Stadium being a wind tunnel or anything. It's Justin Tucker. I think he's one of the best. He's maybe the best kicker that ever existed, to be honest with you. So hopefully the game doesn't come down to a field goal, and that's in that regard. I do think that it's difficult for the Ravens to fake the hate that they felt for the Titans last week. They were pissed off against the Titans last week because of what happened with the logo thing a couple of weeks ago in that game that they ended up losing in overtime. You can't really, like I said, fake that. You can't generate that type of hatred against a team that didn't really do anything like that to you. You can try to convince yourself of it, but when you actually know that it's true, there's just a little bit different. You have a bit more maybe of an edge, maybe a nastiness to you when you're playing the game. And that really came out for the Ravens last week. I'm not picking the Bills to lose. No chance of it, okay? Even if they win this week, I'm not picking them to lose the next 3 weeks. If there are 3 weeks, okay? I'm going to pick, I think Vegas thinks it's 26-23. Let's say it's 27-24 again. That's my pick. Bills 27, Ravens 24. Guys, I went a little bit over my time, but, this is Divisional Round. This is uncharted waters for us, okay? Hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Thank you guys once again. Enjoy your weekends. Catch your boy at the game. As always, above all else, go Bills.